to all of you watching us out there. Today is Tuesday, that is the third day and the week-long anniversary celebration of the late President, Professor John Evans Atta Mills. And tomorrow, as all of you might know by now, will mark exactly a year when he passed on. And obviously, we are still in the mood, as reflected in my outfit. Do not worry if you don't have it. You still have much time to go for it. But what saddens me on this occasion is when we try to commemorate the memory, the legacy, try to keep the hopes, the vision of the late president alive by having series of lectures, kora, performances, and all that. You still have some characters raising this rather useless debate that they still want to know what caused the death of the late president. I'm referring to a gentleman called Richard Nwama. I don't know if I got the name right. Richard Nwama of Young Patriot. Nwama, well, of the Young Patriots. I mean, this is absolutely useless and needless. We don't need that now. The report has been submitted. I'm talking about a postmortem report. Has been submitted to the family. If you really want to know, and you know you are doing this on good faith, go to the family. If they deem it fit, they will disclose it to you. It is not for you to be issuing statements and be... I don't even know why he's been granted platform for, some of these things to be said on air. By the way, welcome to Majority Caucus. My name is Ali Dawood, your host. And tonight, we'll turn our attention to talk about the relevance, if there is any, about this peace summit that some people have described that it is becoming an avenue for money making. I am not saying it. Some people think that the likes of IDEG and co, even though the intention may be genuine, perhaps the strategies and the modalities do not reflect the intended purpose, and people are becoming very skeptic about what the objective of this peace summit really is about. So tonight I have two powerful guests in the studio. They will tell you what they think, and what they think would also help to, as it were, sanitize the political arena, because you really do not have an option when you take a matter to court. You have to accept the outcome. I don't think it should take a peace summit for that to happen. In the studio tonight, I have lawyer Tete Wayo. He will be with us in the studio. He's on my immediate left. And then at my extreme left, I have Godwin Edoji Tamaklu, who's a youth activist of the NDC. Thank you both, gentlemen, for your time here.
Yeah, thank you very much. Good evening to your viewers.
Of course,
yeah.
They appreciate you coming.
To your viewers as well.
Let me start with you, Godwin. In as much as I want us to go straight to the topic at hand, but I think that it's proper that we pay some courtesy to the memory of the late president. Just in a very brief submission, what you have to say about yesterday. You had the lectures.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Thank you once again to your cherished viewers. I mean, the person of Professor John Evans Atta Mills is such a man that I've associated with so much. Indeed, my involvement in NDC politics, I met his leadership of the party. So I have been very associated with him as an individual and his style of politics. I have basically adopted his style of politics, that you ought to be decent if you really want to affect the lives of people. His sense of humility, I mean, remarkable. If you run the person of Professor John Evans Atta Mills against everything, I mean, he stands out. So I wasn't surprised that yesterday, at the inaugural lectures, the lecture delivered by Professor Kwame Nahor, he actually did indicate that Professor Mills' humanity was actually what gave him in. Because see, there are a lot of people who think that politics is a game where you go and you do all the dirty stuff. Yeah. But here lies the case that you have him, his gentle personality, to the time that even people who are in the NDC felt uncomfortable with this kind of politics. Remember that the 8 years rule of the New Patriotic Party from 2001 to 2008, we saw what you would want to refer to the zenith of politics of vilification, vindictiveness, incarceration of former NDC officials over claims that, the height of it, Chachuchikata and what have you. So there were a lot of NDC people who felt that, look, they're coming into power of the National Democratic Congress to see a role reversal. But the person of Professor Mills said, look, as a people, this whole politics of vindictiveness must come to an end. That today we must end this. That if we have to go to court, we must do that based on sound evidence. So for him, he believed that at the end of the day, it's the rule of law. So that is the kind of person that we have seen over the period. Unfortunately, God in his infinite wisdom decided to take him to the chair triumphant. We are celebrating 1 year after his demise. For me, this is time for sober reflection. All of us, we should look within ourselves and see that the quest to make Ghana better, how well have we been able to do that? Okay. Having in mind the person of Professor John Evans Atta-Mills, okay. Such a great man.
Okay, I'll come back to you for the substantive topic. Lawyer Tetewayo, he's a lawyer. I do not know whether you happen to have been his student, but as a law professor, president, what was your observation about his style of governance, briefly?
Thank you very much. I think that the man, Professor John Evans Atta-Mills, is one that, by all standards, nobody in this country and outside this country and the world at large will want to basically sideline him when it comes to leaders of nations that have mounted Mother Earth. And the simple reason is that we have different leadership styles. And in leadership, or in leaving your name in the annals of history, there are always certain trademarks that will be yours. There are always certain things that you want to leave behind, and that sets you apart from other leaders. We all now have accepted that Professor Mills was a man who was a different president so long as Ghana's politics is concerned. And like he has already said with regards to the demeanor of the man we are celebrating today, if we look at Professor Mills and we just oppose him alongside all the presidents or head of state that this country have seen so far, you get to see that Professor Mills stays in that domain alone, whereby he will want to sit down quietly and give you all the time to lay your case, whereby he will want to have patience. He will want to engage you. Come to the round table. Let's discuss. Okay. You understand?
He's a good listener.
Excuse me for this. You understand?
I'm sure my
viewers and that is what that man stood for. And if you have a person who will say it means that bring your mind on board, bring your contribution. I might be the man in the driving seat, but then the fact that I tell you that means that how are we doing it? I'm not saying how do I do it, but means how do we do it?
All hands on deck.
You understand? This is the man we are talking about. Okay. So you got to see that, the good books have said that by their fruit you shall know them. So when you are to know a person, you see it from day one. And the reason why today we are all celebrating, and he's so much in the history of this country, being the first president to leave the throne when he's not even finished his term of office, to leave this earth at the time you all not expected that to be. If you just oppose him, how he came through the ladder, somebody who was not vigorously in politics out there, even though he was working behind, then picked up along the way based on his good works as a director of the tax institution in the country, and then comes on board and straight away as a vice president, he puts in his all his best and is able to quickly get into the system when he has not even been in parliament, when the record says that he has not even been part of grassroots politics like assemblyman and all those things. You get to see that the man knew what he was about. Indeed. The man knew there was a tax. But what we are also losing sight of is that, I mean, like we all used to say that the Lord giveth and he taketh away. God giveth and taketh away. What it simply means is that some great people come to quickly put their contribution on board and then they leave. If you have to go back to Alexander the Great and all these people, Alexander, you heard him so much and you keep to hear him. Some few years, excuse my proposition. Alexander the Great, by 3 years, he's done what he was supposed to do. However, he has conquered almost everywhere. Persia.
He achieved significant.
Persia was from India to Egypt.
Yeah.
And when Alexander stood on his feet, 2-3 years, he's wiped all those that Persia empire away. And not 10 years, not 30 years.
Okay.
At the most, 3 years and some few months. He's left certain things in the annals of the governance of this country.
Very, very
He's left a certain landmark. That when it comes to a president who must be tolerant, a president who wants to say a president who wants to say let the court take its course. You wouldn't want to mix any other person in that domain.
I see.
3.5 years and he's earned that mark.
Absolutely.
And
it looks like,
and it's there in the constitution. I
yeah.
mean, but when you take the preamble say that with the people of this country in the quest to put up a document to enhance our rights, our inalienable rights for posterity. So he's left his mark in the annals of this country.
It looks to me like we need to dedicate the whole program so we do a proper analysis, and we surely would have time for that, no doubt. But Edoji, IDEG,
sure.
This is not the first time we've seen a peace summit.
Sure.
Prior to 2012 elections, we saw something like that, and people were rather disappointed. And that, for instance, let me be precise here, Nana Akufo-Addo, I mean, had gone back on his words. And so clearly, they have courted for themselves public disaffection. And my worry is, must we continue to entertain such peace summit? Isn't this a clear case, where you go to court, you accept the outcome? You need not to be begged or pampered for you to accept the outcome.
Yeah, I mean, the presidential election petition, I mean, aside the legal matters involved, there's so much politics involved as well. And because politics is involved, the issues about passion comes in.
Okay.
It is this passion that when it is not properly managed will bring the problem. Now, it's important that we are having to talk about peace at this time when we are equally, commemorating, I should say, the 1-year anniversary of the Asunje Hine.
Yeah.
I've always maintained that the good old professor, I think he gave his life out for the peace of this country. Within his purposeful rule from 2009 till he died, he made sure that the once National Peace Council that used to be around, I mean, he gave legal backing to that organization.
Okay.
So the Peace Council Act, I think at 818, was actually passed in 2011 to give that legal back. I mean, he wanted his person to reflect all over the country. I mean, his peaceful demeanor.
Yeah.
So he gave that legal backing to the National Peace Council.
Okay.
So it is no more just an organization somewhere. It is an act, an organization established by an act of parliament. Now, with this in mind, let's go back to the pre-2012 election. I recall vividly when all the presidential aspirants met at the Otumfuo's palace and subsequently at KNUST. They took a decision that, look, let us make a commitment to peace, because the role of peace in every country, you cannot do without it. Even in Ghana, places that are relatively peaceful appears to have better development. Places that have, issues with peace appears to be lagging behind. So that in mind, all of us concerned decided that, look, let the political parties undertake that depending on the outcome of the election, they are ready to abide by the sovereign will of the people of Ghana. Now, what did we see? After the declaration of John Mahama as president-elect by Afaijan on the 9th of December 2012, we saw members of the New Patriotic Party. They were beating up journalists. I wouldn't be surprised that journalists from, what's the name? Joe FM. Because Joe FM was leading in the polls.
Manasseh
yes, exactly.
was beaten up, yeah.
Because Joe FM participated so much in calling the poll, they had to beat workers of Joe FM. It didn't end there. We saw the pictures of how journalists, TV3 and others, cameramen and others were beaten. What was their crime? They were just involved in this democratic process. It didn't end there. Even citizens, law-abiding citizens, having John Mahama sticker on their car, were not left out of this marauding whatever. So I am saying that if we have this, after a whole peace accord, we can have this. Then the issue is not about the number of peace summits that we'll have. It's about people getting to understand that this whole process is subject to the determination of the good people of Ghana. Now, we are having to, have this decision to be taken by 9 wise men, the Supreme Court justices. It is not about the number of peace summits. It is about people's willingness to accept the verdict of the people. If we do not have the willingness to accept the verdict, look, let's have 10 peace summits. We'll still go to Obra Sport.
Yes.
We'll still go there.
Because already news coming in indicates that some supporters of the MPP have been misinformed. I haven't verified this information, but it has been alleged that they've been misinformed and they are in a very jubilant mood, claiming that they've won the case already.
I followed this presidential election petition very well. Now, one thing that became clear is that people started celebrating, even ruling.
Objections.
Depending on the number of objections that were sustained, people were jubilating. Indeed, court verdict or court judgment are now being measured by the number of objections that were sustained. Now, assuming that becomes the case, and let's, for the purpose of analysis, the petitioners had more of the objections sustained. On the basis of that, you are thinking that there will be victory, and it turns otherwise. The first thing that you do is that you go attacking the justices. That their decision is inconsistent with the number of objections that were sustained for the petitioner. The same applies to the respondents. So it's important that we put ourselves in the right frame of mind. That at the end of the day, their lordships are going to give a judgment based on the law, based on the evidence adduced in court. Now, if you have this at the back of your mind, then you should begin to know that it is not about what you think, but what their lordships consider, having regards to the circumstances surrounding the election.
Let me ask you, do you feel that the ordinary Ghanaian is a bit apprehensive in terms of whether or not, let me put it simple, is the ordinary Ghanaian apprehensive for uncertainty? We are not sure whether we accept it or not. I find it very difficult when people begin to extract such unexisting, tension.
No, I think it's well-founded.
Okay.
It's well-founded. Because, you see, if before the 2012 election, we were promised by the leadership of the various political parties that depending on the outcome, they are willing to accept the election results. But we could see party supporters go on the street. It should be a peaceful procession. No. This one, violent attack of law-abiding citizens. Now, to the extent, if this becomes, then every ordinary Ghanaian should begin to worry. Because you see, at the end of the day, it's beginning to appear to me that a lot of people have built their political career based on some of these things, expectations. So therefore, where there is a result that is inconsistent with the person's expectation, what happens? There will be chaos.
Yeah.
But like I've always said, the game of politics, especially elections, is about win or lose. So at every point in time, whatever expectation that you form, you must always have these two, that I can win or lose. More importantly, when that decision is subject to the people of Ghana going to the polls, evaluating manifestos, and making a decision, that decision, it doesn't matter how handsome or whatever you are. Once they have decided that it is you that we think can do this job, that should be it.
Finito. Okay. I'll come back to you. So you tell me about what IDEG and this peace summit is lacking, that because of that, the intended objectives never seem to be attainable. Sure. But Council, the argument also is that perhaps IDEG is not defining what they mean by outcome, or they are not really defining their core objective. And so all we see is the peace summit declaration. You have the declarant coming to append their signatures, and that's it. There's no proper definition of what the real objective is. And that is why we are not seeing any benefit from this peace summit.
Thank you very much. I wouldn't want to quickly begin to more or less downplay the IDEG, and not only the IDEG, because the National Peace Summit was basically not by the IDEG alone. I mean, Otum Force Palace was part of it. The Peace Council is there. Some traditional leaders. So it's an entire package representing society. That is to indicate that the people of this country really want one and only one thing to prevail when the final verdict is given, and that is peace. For the continuance, sustenance of our democracy and our society, and hence our Ghana as a country. So I wouldn't want to really, at this stage, until we've seen series of them, because in any event, this is about the second. And
how many more councils do you want to see?
But if we are to be fair, the first, after the first, relatively there is peace.
Indeed.
You understand?
Yeah.
If after the first in Kumasi, the Kumasi Accord, there was some skirmishes or some chaos or some riots, they would have had a justification to indicate that there has been no returns or no better, givings from such. But then, as we can also accept as a country, the first one and then the second one, we haven't had any negativity at all. So I would want to discredit. I would want to rather help the cause. And that is where I want to not veer a little bit from my colleague here, but I want to look at it from the point that in totality, what does it bring? I've always chastised the NCC and then the GBA. And anytime I get a platform, I want to do that. The simple reason is
Ghana
that...
Bar Association.
Yes, the Ghana Bar Association and then the National Civic Education and so on. So the NCC and then the GBA, from day one, when this matter came up, I thought that basically there are two institutions that should be seen taking the forefront of educating the people as to what the entire issue of going to court entails. So that when they say we are going to court, what are we to expect? Filing of processes, court listening to arguments, the court using the laws available, the applicable laws to determine what has come up. And then thank you very much, coming out with a verdict or a judgment or a result. All becomes a package. So that if from day one, the NCC and then the Ghana Bar Association had taken it up to educate the citizenry, to educate the people. Because fantastic enough, the laws are there. So for instance, if you look at the course of the proceedings, when this issue of contempt started coming up, Justice Atuguba quoted Article 1, which was on all fours, that the sovereignty of Ghana resides in the people of Ghana, in whose welfare and interest governance will be formed for their own benefit. And they will not sit down as judges to make sure that overmighty citizens or one or two people with their parochial interests will take this country to a brink, take this country to a point where it will get out of control.
Indeed.
And they will live, or where they will find themselves in havens, whilst the ordinary poor man suffers on the streets. They will not sit down for that to happen.
Okay.
So the fact that they are the judiciary, and it's fantastic. If you look at Article 1, it goes in line with Article 64.
Okay.
That gives the petitioners the ground to go to court and petition. That when there is any declaration with regard to any presidential election, he who is against the declaration can go to court and seek a determination or a pronouncement on the declaration so far made by the EC.
Okay.
You understand? And Article 1 says that the welfare of the people will be protected. So the court sits down and looks at Article 1 and Article 64 and says, no, why not? The right of the people. Then the court comes to Article 21 and talks about fundamental freedoms of the people. The freedom to be part of associations, freedom to move around, freedom to speak, freedom to be part of any demonstration and procession, political parties, all these things are there. So when these are the matters that are to be held by the court, you got to see that the court is emboldened. Okay. And the court is emboldened towards Article 1 to protect the welfare of the ordinary citizen on the street.
Okay.
And the court will do anything possible to do that. So if this has come up and you call yourself, with all respect, I'm not trying to attack the leadership of the GBA.
I'm sure they would
but
understand.
I'm trying to stick my points. With all respect, when we hear issues of polio and then all those vaccinations, don't we see the medical students and young doctors get onto the field? Don't we see,
of course,
the medical fraternity get onto the field? Free eye screening and all that. Why is it that it's a very novel matter, a very sensitive matter? An election petition for that matter, determining the fate of the number one gentleman of the land, to form a government per Article 57, that there shall be a president of the Republic of Ghana who will be the head of government and the head of state and the commander-in-chief of the Ghana Armed Forces. When such a declaration is before the Supreme Court, which is also embodied by Article 125, that power or justice emanates from the people and shall be administered on behalf of the Republic by the judiciary, which shall be independent only to the Constitution. We want to see the GBA move forward. We want to see the NCC move forward and educate the people on their civic rights and educate them on Article 41 of the duties of a citizen.
The only time I remember listening or hearing the voice of the GBA was when they taught in their views that the punishment handed down to the contemnors were so
they were
lenient.
there. So they were there.
Yeah, they were advocating for harsher punishment. That's the only time.
So you see, if you look at the point is that if they have stood up, if NCR would have come up, this idea of maybe even the legal teams of both parties would not even have come up.
But let me add this point. This thing about the GBA saying we don't want to engage in politics, and when you go to the official website, they have stated categorically that they would engage in economic, political, social, and other aspects regarding the welfare of the country.
Anytime I get a platform, I make it clear that this matter before the Supreme Court is a political, legal one.
Indeed.
Let nobody deceive him or herself. And the judges have made it clear. They've made it clear in their submission.
For me, it's even more political.
They've made it in their submission that this nobody can take the political aspect out. So we are not saying don't go and comment, because even the parties before us are political parties.
Okay.
So where lies the point that you don't want to talk about politics? You need to educate the people, so that if the people have taken that trend, if from day one GBA and NCC have followed that trend, this issue of he seeing the number of peace conference he's trying to say it's not have any effect would have come in, because then the education aspect of the situation would have come up. Then the peace. One thing I've seen about our people, Ghanaians, is that we always want to hear the thing echoed and echoed and echoed. So that's why from the beginning I said I want to veer on a little bit. The reason why I want to say that the peace summit will work is that Ghana for me can tribute. I don't know
constant repetition resonate with them.
And then after so that's why I'm veering off that. It's very important. But the more we do the peace summit, it's registered in the ordinary Ghanaian's mind.
Okay, even though I have some objections to that proposition, let's go for a quick commercial break. When we come back, the discussion and the studio continues. Hello, thanks for staying with us. If you just tune in, you are watching Majority Caucus live on your multi-TV, also live across the world on www.multitvworld.com/stream. The discussion in the studio regards the Peace Summit, whether or not it has lost its relevance. And I have with me in the studio Mr. Godwin Edoji Tamaklu, who is a youth activist of the NDC, and then also lawyer Tete Wayo, who is a lawyer by profession. Council, the problem really with this, with your submission, is that, I mean, there has been many elections.
Do you want to take me out of the legal team?
No. Oh yeah, of course, member of the NDC legal team. Let me put it on record.
Very important.
He is a member of the NDC legal team, and that is why we are very careful about our submissions here tonight. Council, the argument is that many elections have come and gone, and we never heard about the need for peace council or in a peace summit. Sorry. And this time around, it looks like the intervention by this peace summit is rather heightening tension. And clearly people are beginning to get worried.
Thank you very much. So from your point, I also want to veer off, just like I did to my brother. I mean, but the point is that I want to toe the cultural setting of a place. I mean, if you talk about laws, basically, logically, what the laws are is that there are a lot of schools of thought. I mean, we even have the sociological school of thought of what laws should be.
Okay.
They believe in the society, they believe in the culture, they believe in laws should be, but we have KIO issues. It's a fiber of the Ghanaian society. How do we use laws to look at those things? Okay. Max Weber and co, from the sociological point of view of what law is to be, would explain that. Okay. I want to look at it from the point of view that I said before when on break that continue to drum the issue of peace in the Ghanaians' mind. That is how I've grown to live with my people.
That's the only way to register.
Thank you very much. The simple reason is that if you look at our country, like you said, 6 elections thereabout, and it's been peaceful.
Yeah.
We by nature want to be out there and shame the devil. We wouldn't want to join you. So that if you look at, honestly, if you look at all our I don't want us to go to the coups, but it's paramount. But if you talk about peace, you're talking about unrest.
Yeah.
If you look at all the years of unrest, 1966, 1972, 79, and 81. The reason why you cannot compare our situation with other countries is that the Ghanaian will not come onto the street and join the rebels. Who will join you?
Never.
In 1966, Kwame Nkrumah's presidential regiment stood forth at the castle.
Okay.
Until the last man was killed before the government was overthrown. And the government troops at the time. But the point is that Ghanaians as a whole saying that let's join the rebels. Nobody joined them. Kotoka and his people fought their battle. No Ghanaian went onto the street, put a certain kaba on his head, tied a certain bandana, got gun, and started following them. No. Okay. Check 72, a champion, and his check 79 and check 81. We will leave the street and go into the rooms and leave the street for you. We're quiet on what you're That's the ordinary Ghanaian. So that is the sociological concept. That is the setup of the Ghanaian. And that is why you must keep to ring the peace. Okay. Because when we refuse to ring the peace, then we will become not superhumans to our brother just by the Ivorian border.
And Liberia and Sierra Leone.
Felix Ofobuahin was there for quite a long time. In fact, when we were growing up in Takoradi, when people go to Côte d'Ivoire and come, they say, I got Petit Paris, Yaba. We've gone to Paris, Little Paris, and we've come back. And it is true that we've gone to Petit Paris. That is Abidjan for you.
Yeah.
A place called Treichville. Just look like a portion in Paris.
Very
the
nice.
Weather, everything. Treichville.
Well developed.
You understand? So you go and you come and everything is fine. What happened after Ofobuahin? That metal was tested. I was in Monrovia in 1998. Even though by 96, Charles Taylor has become a president. 98, relatively peace. But not peace in Monrovia. Because they were fighting in Lofa County. And that was serious fighting. Where soldiers I knew were in Monrovia.
So the point I get from you is that once there's this unrest, there will never be the peace that we have enjoyed all the way. And so there's the need for us to guard against the jealousy.
Continue to hammer it. Continue to push it.
I'll come to you. So you tell me about the breakdown of peace.
No, you see, let me just before, but I want to state a point before
briefly,
you. In Monrovia, like I was trying to say, much of the war itself, the 1990 war that Charles Taylor became president, was fought in the hinterland, not in Monrovia. However, a lot of young people died in Monrovia. Do you know why?
Tell me.
They were killed by known faces. So as you sit here, you know the one, you
majority Caucus.
I have gone here now, I'll kill you now. Open your mouth, man. I'll shoot your fool. You start shooting your fool. I'll shoot your hand, man. You start shooting your hand before you see you are dead.
Okay.
Young people died in Monrovia, which is equal to Accra, when there was no battle, when the battle was being fought in Lofa County, which is in the interior.
I see.
So I'm telling my colleague Ghanaians that we must be very careful that we don't spill over. The little we can do is that. And when that happens, either you follow the refugees or you stay behind and fight. And when they're staying behind, what do? You join which fashion? The rebels or government soldiers.
Yeah.
And joining the rebels or government soldiers, you'll be caught in the middle as to who will find you first. Yeah. If you're at Adenta and the rebels get there first, they will find you first. You can't join government soldiers.
No.
So don't let us play around and try to say peace summit is enough. Let's continue to ring. So
obviously, you think that they still have relevance in our national discourse. Godwin, quickly take me through about what you think they can do to streamline their objectives so that the intended results will be achieved, really.
Okay. Again, like I've indicated earlier, with the presidential election petition, I mean, he points it out, the coinage, political, legal, is politics. It's politics and law at the end of the day. Now, I think that the process of ensuring peace had already started with their lordships. I mean, having regards to the contempt processes against some individuals. Eventually, what was beginning to happen was political commentators beginning to introduce the issue of hate speech in their commentary. And I think that it's good their lordships have stayed that. Now, the spillover effect of that contempt process is that at least now, in terms of the political discussion involving the presidential election petition, it's really, the language is now, you can see salt and pepper in the language that people are using.
It's more spicy.
I mean, yes, on air. That for me is the starting point. Now, with regards to the Peace Council, because it's an act of parliament that established it, they do most of these things through advocacy, community group meetings, as we witnessed last Friday. I mean, it's important that on this particular occasion, they had the two surviving former presidents. I mean, the chair, the founder of the NDC, Joe Rawlings, chairman, and then the former president Kufuor. The two of them were at the occasion. They graced it. I mean, and if you listen to their language, remarkable. I listened to former President Rawlings, where he makes the point that at the end of the day, the expectation is that the Supreme Court will give a decision, a judgment, that will meet the expectation of the two parties. How they're going to do that, I do not know. But what is important is that whatever their decision will be, will have an effect, as in the post. My thinking is that whatever happened on the 9th, the 10th of December, after the declaration, all had to do with the fact that people were not comfortable with the decision of the majority of Ghanaians as announced or declared by Kwadwo Afari-Gyan. Are you okay?
Yeah.
Now, if it comes to IDEG and then the Peace Council, like I indicated, is all about what? Advocacy, repeated advocacy. I still have a problem, okay, with the outcome of the process. Our churches already are doing this peace thing.
Yeah.
It's important, let us always remember this, that the number of persons registered before the last election had to do about 40 million.
Yes.
The last census put Ghana's population at about what?
Almost 25, right?
Yeah, exactly 25. So
with
close to
having 51.2%.
close to half of the population per the last registration are ready to even participate in the electoral process.
Yeah.
There are a lot of other persons who did, in fact, registered, but were not willing to even go out there to vote. They needed the voter ID card for their own business or something. So at the end of the day, what I'm saying is that, look, we have the bulk of our people who are not actually interested in the electoral process.
Yeah.
They are a determining factor. Because, you see, at the end of the day, when we, the politicians, go out there on the street, when you are done, you go home. You want to sleep. You put your head on your pillow. Remember that there are 4 or 5 persons in that house who will never come to the streets. Your action is going to affect them. So would you want to sacrifice the 5, whatever future or whatever they have, for your own unbridled ambition? So these are the constant questions that will be coming up. So for me, at the end of the day, the determining factor is we Ghanaians, the majority of our people who are not actually active in the political space, they will determine the peace of this country. That notwithstanding, we have our churches every day. Christians, we believe in who? Jesus the Christ. He is the foremost asunjwe. So how can a Christian who believes in Christ participate in such a process that will disturb the peace? My brother, the Muslim, I mean, in times like this, when he is before Almighty Allah in deep supplication, he is fasting.
Indeed.
Would you want to disturb the peace? He wants Ramadan to
By the way,
end.
Islam means peace.
I mean, Islam, the word Islam that I learned long ago in my social studies is what? About peace. So, I mean, the two competing religious groups in Ghana, Christian, Muslims, even our brothers, the pagans, they are not ready, because at the end you need peace to visit your
Shrine.
idol or shrine. So I think there's something about the Ghanaian that is about peace.
But they said we should not underestimate.
No, I think some commentators.
That is why I use
some commentators.
It took Cote d'Ivoire that space.
Yeah,
After
I have a question on that for you.
You see, at the end of the day, like I've indicated, it's all about politics.
Okay.
I think that eventually we are beginning to believe that it doesn't matter how bad the government is. I will have, 4 years to make a determination as to the future of that person. And even now, among us, getting to election, see the way our people pride themselves with their term. I would show you where my, the Kukromoti power. Our people are beginning to believe this. That is why I sometimes think it's problematic when we are being boxed into this stereotype that somebody somewhere must help us to maintain peace.
Yeah, that is my difficulty.
It's a
really,
dangerous stereotype.
Yeah.
In the US, when they have an election, you don't see
they say
people from Saudi Arabia, the European Union, going out there as election observers.
No.
But we have that. That was why I was happy that the last time the president had to actually tell the people out there that, look, we have come of age. We are going to give you one of the best elections. And to the glory of God, the report issued by the Olusegun Obasanjo group clearly vindicated the president's position. That indeed, as a people, we have come of age. We had one of the most, in terms of peace, how free the process and everything was. We had one of the best. Indeed, before the election, all they talk about violence, blah, blah, blah. During the election itself, we never had any issue like that. Oftentimes, it's the post-declaration. That is where the problem comes. I believe that at the end of the day, the Supreme Court judges will factor all of those things in, will make a determination. We, the people of Ghana, the political leaders, and yesterday, His Excellency the President, John Dramani Mahama, he's already indicated to the people of Ghana that we should all get ready to accept the judgment of the Supreme Court. Remember that as he is the president until otherwise established, the peace of Ghana is his prerogative, the security of the state is his work, and I trust His Excellency John Dramani Mahama that he would deal with any miscreant that would want to disturb the peace of Ghana. Because at the end, Ghana is bigger than MPP NDC.
Absolutely.
Before we were born, we heard of CPP. We heard of other political parties. Where are they? But Ghana is still where it is. So possibly NDC will go. NPP will go. It started as UP and went through several changes. Now it is NPP. Possibly tomorrow, the NDC will change to something else. But at the end, Ghana will stand. And let me borrow the words of the late president. Ghana will not die.
Indeed, Ghana will not die.
Sure.
On this note, let me announce the phone lines. 030221170124. Keep the calls coming because we're running out of time. Make sure your contributions or submissions are very brief. Council, I have so many questions at this time, unfortunately for you. One, this notion about peace summit goes to undermine, if you ask me, the very establishment of our security institutions. It presupposes that the security installation and the institutions are weak, and that, but for their reminder, Ghana will be on the brink of what I do not want to assume will be. And two, the problem we are having is that when we move away from having peace, I do not see how the chaotic situation is going to benefit anybody. I mean, really, I do not see how that is going to inure to anybody's interest.
Exactly.
And then finally, a lot of media bashing has been attributed to or directed at the lawyer Sam Okujeto for a comment that many people thought it was very biased. But before you answer this question, let me pick my first caller. Hello.
Hello.
Your name and where you calling from?
My name is Razak.
Okay, Razak, you're on air.
Thank you so much. My regards to Mr. Tetewayo. I admire him so much. He should keep the fire burning. And please, as Mr. Thomas Ploy says, we the youth, we should be very, very careful. Look at the politicians. Look at their age. We should be fighting for ourselves. We shouldn't be fighting for them. So we should be very careful. We shouldn't allow somebody to incite us to go on the street and misbehave. We should think of our future. Most of them, if you are going to go into their properties, their accounts, you run away, you'll be marveled. It's for their family. Just few people. There is some of us who don't have, we should think of what is going to happen. If we join them, we are going to burn the country. That is what I want you to preach to our colleagues. They should be very careful from the both parties.
Okay.
We shouldn't allow ourselves.
Thank you very much for your contribution. I have my final caller. Hello.
Hello. Good evening.
Good evening. Your name?
This is Adam from Tamale.
Okay, Adam, you're on air.
Yeah, I would like to say a very good evening to Dr. Wayo.
It's not yet a doctor, but I'm sure he'll get there.
So much. I like him.
Thank you very much, guys.
In fact, and I love NDC more than any other thing.
Okay, thank you very much.
And inshallah, Ghana shall continue to be Ghana.
Inshallah.
Even with that entity or Nana. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, inshallah. Of course. Yeah, we are running out of time. Box them all up.
Thank you very much. On the issue of the continuous pronouncement of peace, undermining the security network, or in fact making them weak. Like I keep to say, so now you know my position. I've told a tangent that let's keep drumming it. Because the point is that if you look at our situation as Ghana, all the things we went through at the time were more or less like, I keep to go back to 66, 72, 79, 81. They're more or less like freedom fights. All those fights were to enhance the Ghanaian, get us to that pedestal where we now move on as a nation. And that was why maybe we were inside the rooms.
Okay.
You understand?
Yeah.
But after 1992, society have changed, the world have changed. Like I told you about Ofo Boahin, since the 1960s, 70s, all the way to 80s, he kept Cote d'Ivoire intact. When he went off the scene, Henry Kondebede came and the turmoil started. Robert Gay came into the system, and now Alassane Ouattara is there. So we are not superior to the Ivorians.
Okay.
The relative peace they enjoyed all the time of Ofo Boahin is the same thing we are enjoying, or the same thing we're enjoying all this while. Let's go back to our brothers from the top. That is why Blaise Compaoré keeps to love issues with Ghana, because after Sankara and 87, they have also not seen problem. They are still trying to keep mute. So Ghana and places like Burkina Faso, we are trying to dwell on our people's peace to hold our country. That is why there's always the need to keep hammering it. It doesn't mean that our institutions are weak. It doesn't mean at all. Look at Egypt. Relatively peaceful till so-called Arab Spring. And now every blessed day Egypt is in flames as we speak now. So we shouldn't pride ourselves and try to say that because we are naturally peaceful, because we uphold peace, it will be there forever if we don't try to change with times. This time around, any unrest will be a quest for political power. Viewers watching should take the difference. 66, 72, all those ones who were fighting for freedom, trying to enhance the Ghanaian. That's why we're not on the street. That's why nobody will come and join you. Open a fast street, them. But this time around, please, look at what is happening in Egypt, in Syria, Cote d'Ivoire, and the rest. The quest for political power is different.
Okay.
And politicians of this time who belong to the old stock, and I'm not trying to be selective, I'm not mentioning anybody's name, but I'm
Kenya is peaceful.
Because you know why? Look at the first one.
Okay, they've learned from their lessons.
They learned from the first one. So that Ghana wants to learn from the first one before we learn from the second one.
No, I think it will be wiser for us to learn from other people's
yes,
mistakes.
so we learn from Kenya's first one and follow the second one.
Okay.
And the only way to do that is to continuously do what? To do what? Preach peace. Because even the Kenya, after the first one, our former United Nations Secretary was there, Kofi Annan. High power delegations were there to make sure that we drum home peace for the second one.
I'm running out of time. I want you to respond to what Sam Okudzeto said, the lawyer.
As for senior counsel, that is very unfortunate, because when you read the script, he said what? He said we must respect them, into bracket the courts, because they are the final arbiter. If we don't respect them, then let's get back into the jungle.
Okay.
You understand?
Yes.
If you are in office or power, and the law says you must go, you must respect it.
You must exit office.
This is what he has quoted in the media. Highly unacceptable.
Yeah, I mean...
Senior, with all respect, senior counsel for that matter, a member of the disciplinary committee of the General Legal Council of the judiciary.
We must be very careful.
You understand?
But criticize him.
With his pedigree, I thought it's one of those things. People are saying that his political color showed and all that. Yeah. But these are the times when you speak at such fora, you should be very, very clear on the issue. Because anybody who followed, I followed that day. I was behind TV watching. And anytime I look at the transcript again, I look at that particular portion. That's why I've been able to quote it for you. That's exactly what he said.
And he saw not the need to advise the opposition leader.
You see, this is unfair.
It was as if he is expecting one particular
the moment he added that if you are in office and the law says you must leave, then means you are attacking one person because one person is in office. And that is where
most people thought that he shouldn't have been invited there at all.
In fact, he shouldn't have gone there. So on that score, I want to disagree with senior counsel. Respectfully, I disagree that for that one he went below. He went a hit below the belt. We don't need that one, because you have to speak. You are speaking on a peace summit platform.
Yeah.
And so it
should come with some sense of neutrality.
It was to be leveraged, but to be able to say if somebody. What about if the person is not in office? If you're not in office, you're trying to get into office, and the law says don't. You also don't.
Yeah.
Yes, you should have added that one. But if you say want to leave one, is so highly and respectfully, I think that this time around, the senior most Sam Okudzeto of Ghana has hit below the belt.
So we respect him, but we disagree with his views. So people should not quote us out of context.
No.
In conclusion, your remarks quickly. So 30 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, for me, let's use this occasion of the 1-year anniversary of the death of the late President, Professor John Evans Atta Mills, to reflect soberly, even as we look for peace after the judgment of the Supreme Court. I'm very convinced that at the end of the day, justice will be done. But we should be very careful. Justice is not what you want. Justice is what the justices think.
Okay.
So that if you have an idea, of justice, and that expectation is not met, don't go on the street to say justice has been denied you. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, counsel quickly.
I think
15 seconds.
All whatever he has said is what Article 1 is saying. Justice is what the court will say. And like I said, the court said they are there to protect the interests of the Ghanaian.
Okay.
The sovereignty of Ghana is with the people, and in whose welfare governance is formed. The court want to protect it. And that is what is justice. Anything they do, per the power bestowed on them by the Constitution, that will protect Article 1.
Okay.
That is justice. That is for national security. That is for public safety. That is for public morality. That's for the peace and stability of this country and the respect for rule of law. And to end on Professor Mills, I think that it's very unfortunate that it has happened. But the truth of the matter is that I've had the privilege to see. I greeted Professor Mills in 2004. He became president.
Obviously,
that's interesting.
That will take another whole show. And viewers, it's unfortunate that when you're having an interesting discussion, time flies away. But do make it to Asumdwe Park tomorrow, where we lay the wreath to celebrate the 1 year of the passing on of the late president. Indeed, we need to keep his vision and legacy alive by celebrating him. And so, thanks for watching. Thanks for being part of the show. I'll be here, inshallah, on Thursday. Till then, stay good and be blessed. Bye-bye.